You're the firstborn. You've got the family name. You've got the family name going back 4 generations, and you're harder on the firstborn. I think you see the failures from the older ones, and you kind of learn from them.
I think every man tries to separate a little bit and create that distance, but it's been fun growing up and being able to transition from father-son to more friends. And, you know, if I had one major critique, would be...
Men in the Arena Army, we salute you. Hey guys, thanks for listening to this episode of the Men in the Arena podcast. I'm Jim Ramos, your guide and host, leading you to your best version in Christ in the stress bubble of life and beyond. Welcome to the #1 podcast for Christian men. Hey, I'm excited today to interview my favorite, oldest son, James. James is going to be on here today. So let me tell you a little bit about James. James is 31 years old. He was born on March 15th, 1994. So James is my namesake. So he is the 4th James in a long line of Jameses. And so being my namesake and my firstborn, James got the best of me and James got the worst of me. I'm the firstborn. I got the best of my parents and the worst of my parents. So I don't know what he's going to say today, but I'm assuming we'll see the best and the worst all in the same podcast. So the things I like about James, so things I love about you, is you are, which kind of separates you from the brothers, you're the most extroverted brother, so you are the most talkative. I feel like you and I have always been able to have great conversations about stuff, and you're always willing to talk. I did your premarital counseling and your wedding, so I know things about you that I didn't want to know, but I know them anyway. You are the most physically demonstrative brother. You are always the one that we could hold the longest. You're a hugger today. You will sometimes come and just sit next to us. And as a 31-year-old man, you're still very demonstrative. I love the fact that you're empathetic. Throughout the course of your high school days, you had multiple friends stay at our house that were hurting. When you were in elementary school, your teacher said, I always ask the kids who they want to comfort them, and they always went to James. You just have a natural empathy, which makes you a great friend. I wish I had a friend like you. I've never had a friend like you. I wish I had a friend like you. You're very empathetic. And I think the thing that stands out to me the most is you love to celebrate. Like, I feel like partying is your spiritual gift. Like, you love to celebrate. You don't have a jealous bone in your body. If somebody wins, you win with them. If somebody kills a buck, you celebrate. You just have always been the guy, like, on our family thread, whenever somebody does something cool, you're always the first one to go, hell yeah, you're super excited. I love that. I love that about you. You're just a big celebration guy, and I love the way that you try to rally people around you. So you're totally different than your other brothers, but those are some things I really, really appreciate about you. And so I don't know if I got all the things I appreciate about you, but it's a joy to have a guy in my life who has my name, and that really blesses me. And so I actually think the younger Jim Ramos, you look more like the younger me than the other two do, although you're obviously better looking than I was. So anyway, and you have a full head of hair. You're the only one in the family with a full head of hair. So
I don't know how.
Anyway, I know it's going. So How are you doing, son?
I'm good. I was a little nervous going into this, but I don't know, you might be more nervous than me to hear
well,
what I have to
I
say.
know, so we've talked about this. I know that as the firstborn son, the expectations are higher. You're the firstborn. You've got the family name. You've got the family name going back 4 generations. Your middle name is after your other grandfather. And when your firstborn comes, you have these massive goals and dreams that aren't reality, and you're harder on the firstborn. Colton, he was on the show earlier and said we took it easy on him a little more, and I think you see the failures from the older ones, and you kind of learn from them. So anyway, but I do feel like, before I start, I do feel like you and I are very close in a lot of ways. Would you agree with that? Oh, yeah. Like, you've chosen, like, one of the things we didn't say with Colton, like, when you guys became adults, you get to choose the relationship that you have, and like, you could have chosen not to have a relationship. Like, a lot of kids who are adults don't want to have a relationship with their dads, and I feel like you guys have chose that narrative, and I'm blessed for that, because I know a lot of guys that struggle with kids that don't want to be around them. So I feel like we've got a great relationship.
Yeah, I mean, it's had its ups and downs for sure. I mean, there were definitely times towards the end of high school and going into college years that, I think every man tries to separate a little bit and create that distance, but it's been fun growing up and being able to transition from father son to more friends. And the conversations we have now are a lot different than they were. Still call you for advice on certain things, but more so give you advice on stuff as well. But yeah, I don't know.
I would say that you were probably the most challenging to raise.
I'd agree with that.
I mean, you're the most challenging to raise.
I think like
because
you said,
why do you think that you were challenging? Like what was it about your later high school days that you pushed back on, and even into college?
Well, I think it comes from you, honestly. I mean, we have very similar personalities. We're both pretty hard-headed and stubborn at times, and when we believe something to be true, it's going to be tough to change our minds, and I think we clashed on that a lot. I think like you mentioned with expectations, and that wasn't necessarily growing up that I felt like there were these huge expectations from you. You might have had those internally. Sorry, I didn't make it to D1.
Sports is the least of my. I could care less about that.
I know you never.
You played sports all through high school, so yeah.
But I think the external expectation with being the oldest son, of course, everyone looks, okay, how's it going with that kid? And then being a pastor's kid, there were the expectations in the church, like you act a certain way, you go to certain things. You're a huge figure as a pastor, and it tends to be, what's the right way to put this? People almost think the oldest will follow in the father's footsteps. So like growing up, I felt like there was this, oh, maybe James will be a pastor. And there was like never a part of me that wanted to go that route. But it felt like externally there was a little bit of that, not from you. But yeah, being the oldest, definitely tough in that regard. Like you said, experimental child a little bit. And I think watching how Darby and Colton were raised, Darby I think was a little more similar to me. But once it got, Colton was in middle school, high school, it kind of let off the reins a little bit. And, if I had one major critique would be when growing up, going to church and, doing stuff in the home, like Christ related, it felt more of like a chore than like a choice. And it was the expectation, like, no, we go to church on Sundays, we go to youth group, we do Bible study. And as a young kid, I remember being enthralled with that. I thought it was awesome. I loved Jesus. And going into high school, when there were maybe Sundays I didn't want to go to church, or like, hey, I didn't want to go to youth group this day. It was like, no, this is what we do. Like, you go every single week. And those expectations, the being forced to do it, pushed me away from it. And I never felt like that with like sports or hunting or anything like that, because it was more of, hey, if you want to do this, great, and you'll have my full support. But with church, it was like, no, like you're going, you have to love Jesus, right?
Yeah.
And like for the guys listening, I'm sure there's guys that are, new into their faith, starting families, and they probably want to do the same for their kids. And like my advice would be, let it be their choice, because once it becomes your choice and you're really, really forcing it on them, as kids become teenagers and young adults, like the natural is to rebel against your parents, I think. And that's probably like where I had the biggest issue wasn't even the church or Jesus. It was more like just you.
Yeah.
And trying to like create my own path and separate from the family and like grow into my own man. I'm like, well, this is like my dad's religion. This is what he does. And, from probably like 16 to 24 years old, I'd say I was like really not living for the Lord at all. And I don't know if that was like a you thing, a me thing, whatever the case may be. But when I look back at it, I think that was a big turning point. Like, I don't want to be forced to do this. I don't want to just do it because my dad's Jim Ramos or my dad's a pastor. And looking back now at like the decisions I made in those years and how they're still affecting me, that's hard.
Yeah.
Because that's stuff that, I'm going to live with for the rest of my life. One of them was a blessing and Naomi, but I don't know how much you want to get into that.
Oh, they know. Yeah. I mean, you had a party situation and you gave us a granddaughter. We met you didn't even know you had a daughter till she's about 9 months old.
Yeah.
But I think what you're saying Okay, let me adjust that real quick.
Yeah.
So Mom and I have talked about this. Like, the perspective was, we're pastors, you go to church. And I think there was some truth to that, because there was an expectation in the job description, because I was paid to be a Christian, essentially. That's why I volunteer with a chaplain at the Linfield thing, and I do the Young Life thing, because I want to volunteer because I'm paid to be a Christian in a lot of ways, right? Mm-hmm. But Mom and I have talked about it, and we still have agreed that even if I wasn't on paid staff, we would have still made you guys go to one thing during the week and church on Sunday. But in the world we were living in, that's not what we realized. We realized that it was my job and you guys need to be there. And you were one of my leaders in the youth group, though. You had a great time. Didn't you have fun in church?
Yeah,
youth group? You were there every week. You had to be, obviously, but you brought a ton of friends.
Well, if you're going to do something, don't half-ass it. Okay. That's another thing you raised us with. But yeah, I don't know. I just felt like there was one critique I really had to look back at. You asked me to tell you, where I went good, where I went bad.
This is great. Yeah.
It's funny. I've been thinking about this a lot the weeks leading up to this, and how can I be honest but not be a jerk?
Well, let me ask you one more question about that statement. So how are you going to? So Naomi, you're sharing time with Naomi, so it's not really fair to use her in this conversation. But when your family comes, how are you going to address church with them? Let's say on Sunday, how are you going to do it different?
I think I don't want to mandate it. I don't want it to feel like it's a chore. And there were definitely times growing up where it felt like a chore, and I would go to church and not really pay attention, not fully engage, and just it's worship. We've got a 30-minute, he's going to speak for 30 minutes and we have 2 more songs and I can get out of here and, go hang out with my friends, watch football, whatever. And and maybe it's an overcorrection, but I have a fear of pushing my kids out of church by forcing them to go. And because I remember when I asked God in my life at Denny's, I was 6 years old?
5.5.
Yeah. It's how much of that was, in the moment, I'm sure for you, it felt like it was my choice, but I didn't know anything different. And I'm not sure how we'll do it. Me and Tatiana have talked about that, and we bring Naomi with us to church and she loves it. And I think we'll probably learn a lot, but I want it to be hey, we go every Sunday, me and your mom, and we want you to come. But if it starts getting to the point where it's a fight, I don't want them to grow up hating church because they were forced to go. And I have so many friends that grew up in similar situations where, they were forced to go to church all their life. It was never their choice. They get to college or they get out of high school and they're not living with mom and dad anymore. And they start going and making all these poor decisions and chasing all these otherworldly things because they're just curious and why is this so forbidden? Let me go find out. And I did that, and having a daughter, I'm very fearful of that because that can end really bad for a little girl. So I think we want to lead by example. We're going to go every Sunday. We're going to do these things. We're going to operate in our house a certain way. We're going to pray before meals. We're going to pray before road trips and make that normalized, but not something that they're forced to do. And if they get to middle school, high school, and it starts becoming a fight, then it's, I guess it's one of those things you kind of have to take your hands off the reins and let it play out the way it's supposed to.
Okay, so you went way over here. You swung way over here, 16 to 24. Now you're swinging back. What caused the pendulum to swing back for you? What did you figure out, realize, understand about Jesus that kind of brought you? Because this is a problem with a lot of guys watching this. They've got kids who are just say, hey, I want nothing to do with this. So for those guys listening, and you can look at them right here, what was it for you that kind of swung? And I don't know the answer to this. So what was it for you that kind of started swinging the pendulum back to Christ in the midst of kind of being estranged from the church?
I don't think there was one specific moment, but a series of events. Finding out you have a 9-month-old daughter is definitely a wake-up call.
Yeah.
And then I was selling cars, living in downtown Portland, making pretty good money, what I thought, chasing all these things that I thought would make me happy, and they weren't.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember like 6 months before I met my wife, I was like, I need to figure this out. And I need to stop like chasing all these things and like focus on what's important. And I kind of stopped dating for a little bit. And 6 months later, she walks into my apartment for a housewarming party. And we started dating, and like realizing she was gonna be my wife within the first couple dates made me want to be a better man and think about the kind of husband I want to be. And like, do I want to raise my kids and like my wife? Do I want to be married to her when I'm like going out and partying all the time and only focused on making money and like success and having fun? Or do I want to give my kids a safe and constructive household?
Mm-hmm.
And the way we were raised, like our family fought a lot. You and Mom fought a lot, but like the communication was always there.
Yeah.
Whether it was in a constructive way or not.
We had short accounts.
We communicated.
We had short accounts, yeah.
And it's easy to look back when you're pissed off at like all the bad things your parents did. Mm-hmm. And like if we would have had this interview 10 years ago, it probably would have been a lot different story. But looking back now, I'm just appreciative that like one, you guys were together and got through some hard times. Mm-hmm. You mentioned that we had some friends in high school who lived with us, and it seemed like our house was kind of like, when I was there, was kind of like the home for broken kids. Yeah. We went back one day and talked about, okay, here's the 8-9 guys that hung out at our house on a regular basis. I think of those guys, one had a relationship with his dad.
Yeah, even knew their dad.
Yeah, and so I kind of gravitated towards those kids, and then didn't realize what I had. But then they'd be like, "Oh, you're so lucky! Like you know your dad." I'm like, "Yeah, but he's kind of a jerk, and he's bossy, and like makes you do all this stuff." You're like, "I wish my dad was around to boss me around and stuff." So, that's one thing I really appreciate that a lot of people can take for granted, like just being in your kid's life, whether you're married to their mom or not. It's going to go a long way, because not everyone even gets an opportunity to know their dad. So
I appreciate that.
Appreciative of that.
Okay, so let's talk about the fighting. So, so I got a negative, which was forcing you to church. I feel like we got a positive, which was showing up, being there in your life. Okay, so let's talk about the fighting part, because your brother mentioned the same thing to me. So in the book, it's funny, in the book, I talk about you mentioning to me in that 6-month window when you weren't dating, saying, "Dad, I'm a barbarian. I need a woman in my life." So I talk about that, and then Tatiana came, and so that was a huge blessing. But the chapter 4, or guardrail 4 in the book, I talk about my biggest failure as a husband and a father, I think, was how I framed your mother to you guys. And I think part of that is the fighting. Like I told Colton, we should have done that behind closed doors, but we didn't. We are very, I don't know how Darby survived as the only introvert. We have 4 extroverts in the family, and it's short accounts. And I felt like the way we communicated was not okay. And I feel like the way I talked to you guys about your mother was probably my biggest failure.
When preparing for this, I thought about a lot of stuff growing up. And it's funny, like I said, if we would have done this 10 years ago, it would have been very different. But just where I was at with our relationship.
Oh, yeah, you were kind of in a low point in your life
anyway. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of resentments that I've let go of the last few years with like my childhood. I mean, the biggest one, the easiest one to point to is the move, which
from California
to Oregon. That didn't affect Darby or Cole, and they were really too young to remember it. But being only 9 years old, I still had some pretty strong ties down there. Like the best man at my wedding, was my best friend down there growing up. All my grandparents. So there was a lot of that that I had to let go of. So you're asked like, what would have changed? I didn't let go of those things until a few years ago, because like I do realize like it was the right move for our family. God was calling us to do that. And sometimes when you're making decisions that God is making for you, there's some casualties along the way. Yeah. And I think that was definitely one of them. But no, I mean, it was funny. I was looking at the list of like, what do you do good? What do you do bad? And like, the list of good things was so long, and the list of bad things was really short. And a few of them were like, most of them are pretty trivial. You let me become a Raiders fan. You should have pushed me to be a Steelers fan, like you are.
Well, I mean, and the Raiders fans all hate their team, but they did win Sunday.
We did win.
They won Sunday, so they probably still found a way to hate their team.
Rocking at 2-4.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Never. I learned how to change my oil on my car on YouTube.
Colton said the same thing.
We don't know.
Apparently, that's a big failure because I knew how to change my oil.
Exactly,
but you never tire. I just never. When you were growing up, I paid somebody to do it. I was like, I don't waste my time with it.
Yeah.
And I probably should have taught you how to do that.
The good thing is we have a lot of friends in the trades, and they're able to help us out with that.
And the better thing is, for a fact, you haven't changed oil in your car on your own in forever.
It's been like a year.
Are you ever going to do it again?
I mean, $100 or
you're pulling a dad. I'm telling you. You just told me you don't even.
I get it.
You don't even butcher your own deer anymore.
No, I don't do that anymore. No, I don't.
But I mean, this is the thing, right? When you're in the stress bubble, you make a decision. Well, I'm going to spend an hour changing my oil or pay somebody, $80.
Well, and I mean, geez, oil's so expensive. It only saves you like $20 to do it yourself.
So anyway, but yeah, I should have taught you guys more of the trades, I guess. I just didn't know.
But that's all such trivial stuff, I feel like. I mean, showing us how to be a man, how to work hard, how to be consistent, how to show up. Like, those are all things that you didn't have to say it to us.
Yeah.
You just did it. And I mean, the one little line, tidbit of information, of advice, whatever you gave me that has never left me. I mean, I say it to Naomi. She is like, she preaches this to me because she knows like this is almost like the Ramos family motto. But finish what you start. It's super simple. But like, if you're going to try something new, don't half-ass it. Go in all the way. If you start a project, finish it. Take it all the way through. And it's making the bed, doing the laundry. Like, don't wash all your clothes and not fold them. Little stuff like that. Was something that like you did a good job of preaching, but like your actions and your consistency was always there as I look back. And it's stuff that I really took for granted. And I think Darby and Colton probably did too. I mean, you never missed a sporting event. I mean, and if you did, you may have missed a couple here and there, but I don't remember anything specific. And, like I said, I've got friends that didn't even know their dads, and they're like, they would kill for their dad to have come to one football game or one wrestling match or whatever. And you still found a way to kill deer every freaking year.
Well, God help me. I told you about the prayer I prayed, right? When I went into ministry, I told God, I'm going to just give me one animal a year. That's all I ask. And miraculously, every year, kill an animal.
I don't know how you did it.
Every year.
3 kids.
It was so lucky. I'd go out one time and kill a deer. How did I do that? I don't know. Thank you, Lord. Yeah. I think that was supernatural. I don't think I'm that good.
I mean, I think, too, that attests to your relationship with Mom, too.
Yeah.
Because about having a strong woman at home and 3 crazy boys, like, we were crazy. We weren't like, you meet some kids like, oh, 3 boys, they get along great. Like, no, that was not us. We ran through babysitters. We had a new one every week. Like, so for her to stay home with us.
We got to Nicole.
Yeah. Well, you hunted, I think that shows a lot to Mom, and not just her, but also to you, like to have a man that she wants to do that for.
Yeah.
And that's something I strive for. Like, I want to love my wife so much and treat her so well that when hunting season comes up, like, she knows I'm going to be gone on the weekends, or, I'm going to be doing this, that, or the other. But it's with Naomi now being in soccer, like, I haven't missed a game. I think I'm the only person in her life that has been at every single game.
I missed one. I'm in second place.
You're doing good. You're tied with Todd. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you just realize as you grow up how much those little things that you didn't even notice had such an impact. Like, it's just the expectation. Like, the expectation is that you're a parent, you're at the games.
Yeah. Show up until it becomes boring.
Yeah.
Like, if you're not there, they're shocked.
Yeah.
It's in this day and age, it's not hard. In this day and age, it's easier to get off work than it was 10 years ago.
Well, it's like if you're there, if you don't miss a game for 3 years and then you have to miss one, I feel like your kid will know, okay, there must be a legitimate reason.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? They're not like, oh, like, yeah, he's going grocery shopping again, or, whatever the case may be. The other thing you always did really good was your routine was just dialed. Like, I remember when I first moved home from college, You gave me a 6-month window, or a year. I can't remember what it was. It didn't end
I
up
think you were
being
at the house 6 months.
Yeah. And I remember when I moved in there, I was like, okay, I'm trying to be like the alpha, and I want to try to big dog this guy. So I'm going to stay up later than him watching TV, and I'm going to get up earlier than him every morning. And we would stay up watching
that's
TV together.
hilarious.
You'd go to bed. I'd be like, all right, just give it 15 minutes. Cool, I can go to sleep. And I would set my alarm, like, I think I started at like 6. And I'd get up and you're like, oh yeah, I just finished my coffee, done reading and journaling. I'm like, oh man, okay, you got to move an hour earlier. So I started getting up at 5. And like,
that's hilarious.
There were some days I'd be up before you, but most of the time I would be like, I can't get up right now. And then you'd be in there reading your Bible, journaling, drinking your coffee.
Hilarious.
And I mean, still to this day you do that, right?
Did it this morning.
Every single morning. And
I did it this morning.
You just had like such a consistent routine with that. For you, I can't even imagine what like sleeping in and not doing that feels probably kind of weird. So.
Well, I don't use an alarm clock. I wake up when I wake up. Today I woke up at 6:06 because Colton and I were watching a movie last night. We watched Jurassic World, the new one with Scarlett Johansson.
Okay, so I don't have to Venmo you for that Prime rental on this one.
He went and rented it at the actual movie store.
Because
Colton's Mr. Support the local guys, so he went to the real.
I paid for it on Prime. You could have done it for free.
Oh, dang it.
Yesterday.
Well, it's a 24-hour rental. I'll watch it again. Anyway, I wasn't impressed with the movie.
Well, anyway. You got up at 6:06?
6:06, and I went to bed at 10.
I got up at 5:40.
You should have said 6:05. Okay, so here's a question I asked Colton because one of the things that you and Colton, all of you guys said, not Darby not so much because he was an introvert, he didn't say much, but you got, you got your car given to you by your grandparents. We made you get a job. You worked all through high school. You worked all through college. You paid for your insurance. You paid for your gas. You played football all 4 years. You did track all 4 years. 1 year you got cut from the basketball team. We made you be the basketball manager. I think you didn't play a winter sport.
Snowboarded.
You snowboarded, but I mean, we made you guys stay busy.
Yeah.
You had a certain standard for your grades. At the time, it felt like we pushed a lot upon you guys, made you go to church. Looking back, do you think we overpushed?
I never felt like it in the moment. I didn't feel like, it's funny because I talked to my wife about this. I'm like, man, do you remember being in like high school and college and like sports and homework and school and then having a job to like pay for everything? And in college, I felt like I was like sleeping 4 hours a night, between football, working, fraternity, all of these things. I look at my life now and I'm like, I would be ran ragged.
Yeah.
I'd be exhausted after that stuff. So I don't know if it's just being younger and having more energy or what, but I never felt like we were pushed like to the point of exhaustion. All of those things felt like choices, except for church, which we've already talked about. But it was, you can make a choice. You can have this car and you can drive it. And that means you have to pay for your own insurance, your own gas. And if you choose to do that, then you have to make the choice to go get a job and like find a way to pay for that. Same thing with football. I mean, you said, hey, we'll give you X amount of dollars to buy cleats. And if you want to go get the Nike ID cleats or like, the really nice ones, you got to find a way to come up with that on your own. And I remember being like a senior in high school and seeing some kids on the team or, talking to friends at other schools that, their parents bought them all the nicest stuff, paid for their cars, all of that. And I was like, man, like, we're so poor, we can't afford to do all this stuff. And I think, that was probably a part of it, but I think more so it was like the discipline and learning responsibility that now looking back, I really appreciate and like we want to do for our kids. Mm-hmm. From a financial aspect, never felt like we were poor. Like we always had food. It never felt like that, but it is funny talking to you now, like about the choices you made when you were younger. You were almost like so anti-money, you like didn't want to make it, is like the vibe I've gotten. I mean, you tried to give away all your guns.
Well, I was trying to give everything away because God said, sell everything you have.
Right.
You made a comment to me a long time ago, and I've really stuck with it, and it was really good. You said, Dad, money doesn't motivate you.
No.
And I think for me, it's always been the call of God motivates me. Now, I like money. We've got a lot of money lately. We got like money. We're able to give you guys some money. Not that you need money. You make more than me. You own 2 homes. You got a great job. You're a great salesman. But money's never been a motivator for me because I didn't want it to cloud my decisions for Christ.
No, and I applaud that. I mean,
Yeah.
it's hard for a lot of people to do that. And like I said, you almost pushed money away up until very recently.
Yeah.
Everything you got, you would donate or dump back into the ministry because you didn't want it to cloud your judgment, your relationship. And I think it was great. I mean, I remember being in college and like starting to be around guys that were successful. I mean, we've got some friends that are worth quite a lot. And looking at because I've always been intrigued with these highly successful people. Like, what are their daily routines?
Yep.
What have they done in like their 20s and 30s to build to this point? And I'm like, well, my dad did all these things. He does all these things. He's super fit. He's got a great routine. He's always reading. He's always learning. Like, why doesn't he have money? Like, oh, he just doesn't care. I think I told you 5 or 6 years ago, I'm like, Dad, if you wanted to be rich and a millionaire and like a super crazy successful businessman, it would have been so easy for you.
Yeah.
Because you could have just applied all of that. But the amount of respect I have for you for not doing that,
I appreciate that.
It's a lot. Because be very easy.
I think for me, because all my friends are, 30 million net worth, whatever. But I think for me, it's how you judge wealth. Like, what is wealth? Like, I've written 18 books. We've got the #1 podcast now. Like, if you go to AI, we're #1 in the world. Maybe we're listed with a couple others, but we're right there. I think for me, the wealth thing is that probably the most important thing in my life is my wife still wants to be with me.
Don't get too graphic.
Well, that's true. My kids still want to be around me. So those are the most important things. Like, kids that want to be around me. As adults, I got a wife who loves me. And, and those are, you can't take that away. And then I think the other thing is when I get to heaven, all these worldly things that we've spent so much time accumulating aren't crossing over. What's going to cross over is my relationships with my kids, my bride, the people I've impacted. So that's really where wealth is. So, I mean, I think I'm going to be richer than you think. I'm going to be richer than you think.
I'm cool with where you're at. It's great.
But I'll tell you what, it's nice to have a little bit of extra money now. We've got a little bit of extra stuff, and I don't have a plan to retire ever. And so, but we are trying to get enough money in the bank so we don't have to live in your backyard in a tent or something.
That won't happen.
So
I'll put you in a home the first chance I get.
Well, Colton would probably take care of me, but the other two would put me in a home. So
no, me and Darby would rather just shell out the cat.
Yeah, 100%. Get him out of the room. We've already dealt with it.
I don't know. It's delayed gratification, like anything in life. College is a delayed gratification experience. Working out is, and faith is as well. Because as a Christian, you're going to go through so much persecution. I mean, I deal with it at work. I mean, we just had a Christian get murdered for his beliefs.
Martyred.
So knowing that you're going to go through these things and not see you might not see any gratification until the day you reach heaven. Your life might be really, really hard, and like God's going to test you. And that was, I think, part of like getting in my like 18 to 24 range was I felt like I had all these bad things happening to me, and it just like moved me further and further away. But then as I start like rebuilding my relationship with God, and then things start getting better, and I'm like, oh, weird, maybe he was just testing me to see like
maybe you created the bad things.
Well, and that's the point. You make a couple bad decisions, and then bad things start happening, and then you're like, oh God, why are you doing this to me? It's like, dude, this is a product of your decisions.
Yeah.
And once you flip the script and start moving back the other direction, it snowball effects on itself.
Well, I feel like you are the most resilient of the three, probably because you had to be. I mean, there was a point in those 20s, I was like, man, is he going to bounce back here? I mean, he's digging a deep hole. And I think you bounce back. You're very resilient. You always have been. You don't get, even as a parent disciplining you always bounce back. You just have this ability to rebound, and you're just resilient. And I've always really appreciated that about you. I mean, you're 31, you own multiple homes, you have a great job. You as a 22-year-old, you ran a political campaign for a guy, and you won on a conservative ticket in a liberal Oregon. And so you've just got this great ability to drive, and you've got you're by far the most bold one in the family. You're very bold, which makes you a great salesman. But I think that you're just crushing it. Like, so let's shift gears a little bit. Anything else you want to, like, any other critiques of my parenting? Again, I can handle it. This is for them, not me. I'm just thinking, when you look back, how about, or any things that you go, this was a really cool thing that you did and I want to copy? Something like that? I noticed that you pray the same exact prayer over Naomi at night that we prayed for you all through growing up.
I added to it.
But you raised a girl, so what did you add?
I had okay, so the prayer growing up was, Lord, protect them from sickness, illness, disease, and injury all the days of their lives. Which I don't even know how you came up with that.
It was sin and sickness, disease, illness, injury.
Yeah.
Just made it up. I was like, if we can protect them from there, they'll die of natural causes loving Jesus. So we're just going to eliminate all the
That's
garbage.
A pretty good.
Yeah, we're going to do a cover-all prayer. Mom and I just made it up.
So yes, that's something I've taken and added with. You raised boys, so I don't think you were worried about anyone like sexually exploiting us or anything. But
not them living.
So added protect her from sin, sickness, disease, injury, and protect her in all of her relationships.
Oh, they have good
and
prayer.
Relationships, I mean, it's really broad. Obviously, when I first thought of it was like boys, but you can have negative parental relationships, negative teacher, pastor. We hear all the time of these like church horror stories. Mm-hmm. And so, that's the one thing that you did that, I don't know, I didn't even think about it. I just started praying for every night, and that was just the first thing. I'm like, oh, yeah, this is an easy prayer, and it covers, like you said, a lot of stuff. I don't know. I just think just being there is probably the biggest thing. You were always there. And like I said earlier, I took that for granted, but like looking back now, I mean, I know it's why I am who I am.
It's really interesting. I had a guy tell me once when you were little, we were in Los Osos, he said, he did a parenting conference thing, and he said, you don't have to be perfect, you just have to be good enough. And I thought, love covers a multitude of sins, the Bible says. And showing up is a part of love. I feel like showing up covers a lot of sins. Like, we messed up a lot of things with you guys, but the showing up, at the end of the day, it doesn't cover it all.
Yeah.
But it covers a lot of it, because at the end of the day, we're still here. We are for you. We love you, right? And I think a lot of that is just showing up.
Yeah, I mean, for any of the dads listening that are in split households, single dads, it's really easy as a dad to get pushed out of that relationship. The courts do it almost naturally. You need to show up.
Yep.
You don't have to be in the house every day. You don't have to like the way your kid's being raised. I don't even live in the same school district as my daughter, but I don't miss sporting events. I am there for graduations. I am there every time it's my time. You need to show up, because even just being around will change that kid's life.
Yeah, and you're doing a great job of it. I mean, up to even you're yelling at the coaching just like your dad did. I'm like, there's a chip off the old block right there. Well, so you've alluded to a lot of this stuff. I feel like I wanted you to come on, have a real honest conversation with me, and authentic. So I didn't know what you were going to talk about. I thought it actually worked out easier than I thought it was going to be. I was expecting like a little bit more of a harsh critique, but you've probably filtered out some of it. But let's talk about your spiritual life right now. So where would you put yourself spiritually? You've had this journey of being forced to go to church, kind of rebelling for 6 years. You've, throughout the podcast, alluded to praying for Nay, going to church, doing these things. Where is your relationship with God right now? Like, how would you describe it to the guys?
I mean, I feel like I have a better relationship with God than I have maybe since I was like 10 years old. That might be the last time it was like better than this.
Yeah.
My wife and I are plugged into a church. We've got a bunch of good friends that go there, that it feels like the conversations I'm having with people when it comes to important decisions are all around Christ. Me and my wife have been trying for a baby since we got married. It's been a struggle, and we're consistently having the conversation like, he's got a plan. This isn't happening right now, and it's frustrating, and we're watching our friends have their second and third kids. I don't know if I can say this, but Darby's pregnant with his, they're pregnant with their second kid now, and you want to be excited for people in those moments. And like you said, I love to celebrate people, and it's hard for sure. And we keep coming back to just like, God has a plan, God has a plan. And I can't imagine being in this situation without our faith, what it would be doing to our marriage. So that's one thing I'm really grateful for, is like my wife really she loves Jesus, and she wants to have that relationship. And like, we've chosen to make that a part of our marriage. My daughter loves going to church. She loves to pray. She's at the age where she's starting to actually like understand this stuff. I feel like it's in a great place. It could always be better. it is still hard having you as dad. There is still an expectation. You know, we go to these conferences and stuff and meet people like, oh, your dad's Jim Ramos. You know, you still get that. And it's great. Like, it's not something I hold resentment for anymore. I used to. Like, I don't, you know, like, I want to be my own man. But, you know, I don't really listen to the podcast. If I'm being honest, it's really weird to hear your dad preaching at you.
I don't either. I don't want to hear me preaching to me.
Right. It's like, okay, it's one of those things.
Yeah.
But
I understand that 100%.
you know, and part of why I wanted to come on here and have this conversation too is I think in today's day and age, it's really easy to put people on a pedestal.
Yeah.
And you want someone to have a relationship with Christ and you want to be the reason they have it or it strengthens. But I don't want people thinking that like you're some perfect guy and you made no mistakes. I mean, there's been one person that walked this earth that made no mistakes, right?
Yeah.
And if guys can watch this and see like, okay, this guy is human, I can do this, you know, not see you as some perfect example of like, this is exactly how a man should be and a dad should be. Like, yeah, you're getting closer and you've made a lot of steps along the way, but there were a lot of mistakes too.
Yep.
And people need to be able to relate to that as well, because there's no one listening to this podcast that's perfect. And the sooner we can recognize that and know that, like, you know, these leaders we put on a pedestal, whether it's a political figure, an athlete, a celebrity, they have all made mistakes. Everyone has screwed up.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think there's people out there that are perfect and you're trying to live up to that, you're never going to get there. That was another reason why I thought it'd be.
Well, you know what's interesting? I think part of the reason, I mean, God called me to work with men in a supernatural way. But when I look back at that and I look at the journey now, I think part of what I do is scratching my own itch. How can I help guys frame their wives better when they're raising kids? How can guys bring Christ to their kids without have them feeling like it's a mandate? You know, how do we do these things better? How do we have discussions without yelling? So a lot of it has been scratching my own itch. I did some things very well, but there's some things I did very poorly.
I mean, we still yell at each other.
I know. Well, you and I, you more know that's kind of our deal. But I feel like, but the key is we always bounce back because there's a relationship there. And so there's the thing that we've always had as a relationship. And I think that's important. So I'll tell you what, man, there was a season I had to force myself to smile at you when I saw you. I was really disappointed in some of your choices. It was hard. But I was like, you know, I love this kid, and how I look at him in the eyes is important to him more than the other ones. He's the social one. He's the one that's most like me. And so that was hard, but I was like, I love this boy, you know, 20-year-old. I'm going to look him in the eye. I'm going to tell him I love him, which I've always told you I've loved you.
You know, looking back at that season, I think if you would have been overbearing how you were when I was in middle school, I mean, overbearing might be a little bit extreme, but if you would have been coming to me like, you need to get your life back on track, you need to start going to church, you need to get back with Jesus, like, it probably would have just pushed me further away.
Yeah, that was the last thing for us to say.
And I remember, I think I'm 23 years old. You'd ask me, like, when do you think you'll come back to Jesus and like come back to the church? Like, is it going to happen? And I was like, yeah, Dad, when I'm 30. You know, which obviously it happened.
You said, this is my time. I want my time.
Yeah.
This is the time for
me.
me.
Such an immature.
And I was like, okay, bro, how's it going?
Yeah.
It's not working out, but
you,
okay.
You kind of took your hands off and, okay, you're going to learn. I mean, you kind of had that in high school and college little bit too.
I did as well, yes.
So I think you being able to step back and let me make those mistakes, which I'm sure was really hard to watch. I think, you know, life is long. And eternity is even longer. And if I had to go through all that crap in my 20s to get to where I'm at now, I'm grateful for it. And I'm sure it was really hard to watch, but I'm glad you let me do those things, because if you would have came in and I'm your dad, this is what we do, you know, it would have just made things worse.
I didn't need to tell you that because you already knew.
Yeah.
You already knew what I wanted. I've always told you guys, I don't care what your career is. I don't care how much money you have. Jesus is the only thing that matters. If you get that right, everything else is going to fall into place. And it's like, it's funny as you and Todd have turned to Christ again. It's funny how God has blessed you with a lot of the material things. You live in a bigger house than me. You own 2 homes. You got a great job. You got a great income. You got a beautiful wife who has our family name. We love her. She's one of us. She's ours. And so for her, and we're praying for the, we are praying for babies for you. But I've told Todd, I said, you are enough for us. We don't expect anything from you. You are enough. And God's going to do what God's going to do. We don't know what God is doing and what path is, but I think you guys are on the right thing. So, man, I'm just really proud of you, man. You are the resilient one. You bounce back. I feel like you're on a great path. Yeah, man, I love you. Appreciate you.
Don't cry.
I'm good.
I love you
gonna
too.
Cry first?
I was pretty close there.
I saw it. Anyway, so hey, thanks for coming, son. I appreciate you taking the time off work to drive an hour here one way and be here for us. So appreciate that. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Getting real with my boys. Hey, until next time, feel the wet sand on the arena floor. Hear the deafening roar of the crowd. Taste the sweetness of victory. Smell the stench of battle. Get in the game. Get dirty. Grind it out. Show up for your kids and be a man.